America is home to 33 million small businesses, the beating heart of communities across the country.
And proof that the American dream is still alive.
This is a show about those dreamers and doers and the communities they serve.
Their real life stories.
Their struggles and successes.
Their grit, determination, and passion.
And the people who fight
to keep their American dream alive.
I'm Alfredo Ortiz.
I'm Elaine Parker.
And it's time for another episode of Main Street Matters,
America's small business megaphone.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. I'm Elaine Parker, the president of the Job Creators Network Foundation.
And I'm Jordan Bruno, vice president of Job Creators Network.
And you can subscribe to the show at salempodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcast from. Today, we are very excited to be joined by Susan Thibodeaux. Susan is the director of the Louisiana Small Business Development Center and joins us to discuss the great new programs that she and her team have come up with to help small business owners who are just starting out. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, tell us about how you got involved with small businesses, what you're doing at the Small Business Development Center to help small businesses begin.
Yes, I've worked for the center for almost 11 years. My background is in finance, banking. I own my own business. So coming here to help small businesses is, it's kind of a calling. It's something that you understand what the difficulties are when you have a small business, what the difficulties are that small business owners have, especially in starting or growing their business, or even having the difficulty of going to a bank and getting a loan. So having my experience it just helps me to be a better consultant to help my businesses. So what we did today, or what we're doing, is we have 4 sessions. We've already done the first one. It was building the foundation of a strong business. Our next one is going to be Financial Forecasting 101, developing your projections. That's going to be this coming Thursday. The other 3 that we have is how to write a business plan, crafting your roadmap, qualifying for a business loan, which is for many small businesses, that is very difficult. Mm-hmm. Because one, when you're starting a business, you have no business credit. So they're going to base that on your own personal credit. And also a startup business is very risky. Even if you're in business now and you've been in for several years, still getting a business loan it's hard.
And so what types of businesses do you generally work with? What type of industries, and what's the average size of the businesses that you're working with?
We're only allowed to work with small businesses. That's what, SBA is one of our partners, along with Louisiana Economic Development, and McNeese State University is my host university. We work with really any type of business. Around here, we do a lot of food trucks, we do hotels, we do lawn services. I mean, there are a few types of businesses we're not allowed to work with, and that's SBA that is saying, okay, you can't work with these. But the majority of businesses we can work with, and we work with anyone from startup to growing their business, whatever their needs are. We do a lot of training to kind of teach them, give them the tools that they need in order to be successful. And that's what we're doing here. We're starting them from, building that foundation, going all the way, to get your bank loan to where they can start up and they have that business plan to be successful.
Susan, tell us about some of your success stories.
Actually, I was just on our local TV channel, and one of the success stories that I have was Melinda Tilley. She opened up a hair academy, teaching how to cut hair and all that. She has been a very good success story for our area. They came in with a plan. And most of the time they come in with an idea, but they don't know where to go with that idea. So what we started out with is doing financial projections. you start, that for me is your foundation of where you need to start. Some people want to start with writing a business plan, but financial projections really is an outline for your business plan, because you have to first determine feasibility. Is this business going to be feasible? Is it going to make enough money to pay you what you want to be paid, pay your employees, and be profitable? So once you do financial projections, then you have the outline to build a business plan. Because what you're doing is you're taking your 3-year strategy and explaining all the assumptions that you made in that business, in your financial projections, explaining that, you used realistic numbers and you have a plan for success. And that's what a bank is going to be looking for. Looking at your financial projections. Are they realistic? Do they make sense? And also the business plan. Did you explain in that business plan where all these numbers came from? Or did you just pull them out of your hat? And some people just pull them out of your hat. We have to go back and say, hey, we have to explain that, these numbers are numbers that you can meet. They're realistic. And a lot of times what we'll do is help our clients to think through the process. So if you say you're going to make $500,000 in that first year, where'd you get those numbers? How many clients are you going to see in a week, in a day? How many do you anticipate? We also have to start from, you're not, if you at the end of the year plan on seeing or making $75,000 a month, you're not going to start from day one, that first month making that. We have to help those clients understand it's going to take you time to get there. You have to build it, and you have to have a strong foundation. You have to have marketing strategies in order to reach those numbers. And another thing we preach to our clients is, you write a business plan, you do these financial projections, but they change. It's not once and done. Being that we just had the Super Bowl, I like to use the analogy of a coach has a game plan when they go out on that field. Okay, you can't just go out on that field and just play. You have to have strategies. Same thing with the business. You need to have strategies before you open. And as that game, like when we just had the Super Bowl, during that game, those strategies are changing because the other team is making changes. Well, in the business world, the economy changes. Your competitor changes, and your small business owners change, or you change. So you have to change along with it if you want to be successful.
And Susan, just curious, are you helping small business owners obtain SBA loans? Is that what you're helping them do? Okay.
We do SBA loans, but if they have to not qualify for a bank loan in order to qualify for an SBA guaranteed loan. So we're just helping them, whatever kind of loan that they can get, they qualify, that's what we're going to help them with. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an SBA loan.
Okay. I think it's a great service. My family and I used to own a Goodyear tire store in South Florida. And of course, we get hit by hurricanes occasionally, as does Louisiana. And so we went through getting an SBA loan after a hurricane, and it's quite a process. It's very complicated. It's different than your typical bank loan. It was super complicated, and I'm sure I'm exaggerating because I never exaggerate, but I remember the stack of papers to fill out being something about that thick.
Right. Yeah. It's, anytime you're dealing with the government, the process is a little bit longer, a little bit more paperwork, but you also have to realize these are usually loans that you would not have gotten through the bank.
Right.
Because of the risk. Now, that is something that we also help with. Whenever we had hurricanes, Laura, we here, that was during COVID, we here at the Seed Center, we helped to have a business recovery center because of COVID, SBA couldn't come down. And usually whenever you have a disaster, SBA will come down and they'll help with the disaster applications. Well, being they weren't able to come because of COVID, then we assisted them in opening a business recovery center here. and which was very, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, or if y'all know, our services to small businesses are at no cost. So, one of the things I tell people, even if you think that your plan is great, and it could be, come get a second opinion, because it's not going to cost you. So, we're here to help small businesses, whether you're in business or trying to start a business or grow your business. We're here to help them. And like I said, services are no cost. So, what you got to lose?
What is the sort of average small business failure rate for startups in, the first 1 year or 5 years, however you measure it?
Yeah, it's very high. And I would say that's from failure to plan. After 5 years, I think it's like 80%. It's a large number of businesses are going to fail because they're not having a business plan. They don't have one, or if they have one, it's the one they wrote when they started and no changes. When we had COVID, businesses had to pivot and make changes in order to stay in business. That's where a lot of businesses had to shut down because, one, they didn't have working capital to keep them going, and also they didn't have that strategy. They didn't pivot so that they could stay in business. We had a lot of, it was COVID. We had about 3 or 4 different disasters that hit our area in a year's time. So we had a lot of small businesses that shut down just because, they weren't able to make it through.
Were you involved in helping small businesses with the Paycheck Protection Program during COVID?
Yes, ma'am. And then all that was was long. It was a long process because, it was brand new. And the PPP was only for COVID. It's not something that is for every kind of disaster. This was because of, the pandemic. So we help people and I had one client that it took us a year to get, to help him get economic disaster loan because of the process, because there was just so many disasters, so many people that were applying that SBA had hired a lot of contractors to assist. And sometimes you would call, and then each time you would call, you would get someone new. So we kind of started the process over again. But we helped many people with their PPP loans and their IDLs.
Susan, Louisiana is a unique state for many reasons. Can you give our listeners a sense of the small business climate in Louisiana and the particular challenges entrepreneurs may face there? Yeah.
In our area, in Louisiana, our laws are different. So there's that. We have, and especially in our area, our sales tax is extremely high, which affects small businesses because trying to get your customers out and come and pay, the prices that they have to pay. Restaurants, this is pretty much going on across the country because of the economy and the high prices. Nowadays, with social media and having access to people commenting on your business, giving reviews that are out there for everybody. I know this is across the United States. That is hard on small businesses to have on a daily basis someone coming in and saying positive. It might be the one time when they had a negative occasion going to that restaurant, but people are going to post that. And so I keep watching it in different strands that someone will say, they're never going there just based on what somebody's opinion was. And, and that's sad that we have that. You may never go to a restaurant or give a business a chance because of someone's opinion of what happened, whether it's realistic or not. Our area here, we are an all industry. We have several different chemical plants around. We have LNG, which is a big area around here. So that's a lot of our small businesses are trying to get into business with industry. So, construction, many different types of businesses that are out there that are able to sell to industry. That's a big area around here that our small businesses are able to get different, contracts with small industry.
Interesting. What about any particular regulations or tax challenges the entrepreneurs you deal with? Do you hear again and again?
One of the things that is helping our small business owners are the employee tax credits that they're able to, to use to be able to get, 'cause, as a small business owner, it's hard to have employees. Most of the small business owners, or a lot of them, when they start their business, it's just them because they can't afford to pay an employee payroll tax, workers' comp. So they have to start out by themselves, or just them doing it, them and their family working the business, and the payroll, the tax credit does help them in securing some employees.
What are, as far as small businesses go, the last couple of years, small businesses have really been disproportionately impacted by the high inflation, the high costs. We do a poll every month asking small business owners what are their biggest issues that are challenges for them. And for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, it has consistently been inflation, high costs, high gas. What are you hearing locally in Louisiana about the high cost of energy and gas and everything like that?
Right. It's the same. Inflation, the economy is, everything's high. One of the things that we try to teach our clients is, prices are changing all the time. And it's hard to get some of the products or material that they need. But the one thing we try to preach to them is you need to consistently be looking at your financials. Remember those strategies that I keep talking about is some clients will keep that same price, their sales price, versus trying to keep up and keep watching what their cost is. Because as their cost increases, they need to increase their sales price. Or they're not going to stay in business. The hard thing about it is, as I was mentioning earlier, social media. And when the prices go up, people are complaining about it. But just as we as individuals go to the grocery store, go to a retail store and you're purchasing, the prices are higher for us. Well, those small businesses have to increase their prices if they're going to stay in business. Otherwise, they will be going out of business. There'll be one of those high statistics of where small businesses go out of business.
You mentioned, some of your small business owners aren't able to get the goods that they sell to the shelves. That's something we really have seen since, and probably as a result of the pandemic, is the supply chain issues that we saw that were so detrimental to getting goods to the shelves. But our small business owners, the feedback we would get is that they don't have those big preferential contracts. They're not buying at the rates that some of these big box stores buy at the level. So they kind of get pushed to the back of the line because their orders are smaller. And so even though supply chain issues impacted small businesses, what types of things have you heard from your small businesses during the pandemic, even post-pandemic?
Same thing. Being able to get, like a lot of the big companies, as you were saying, they have such a large inventory purchase that, they're going to stay at the top. They also will probably have more than one vendor that they use, have a backup. That's one thing that we also try to preach to our clients is you need backup. You may like to use this one vendor. That's okay. But you also need to have other resources for the just in case, what if? As they're not being able to get the material that they need, you need to have another resource. Because if you're not able to supply your customers with your product or service, then, you're going out of business.
Well, we have a lot of small business owners. Some obviously are in Louisiana, but in general, who could utilize a service like yours. Can you tell everyone where they can go to find out more information about what you do and what you offer?
Yes, ma'am. In Louisiana, we have 10 centers across the state. They can go to our website, which is louisianasbdc.org. And that stands for Small Business Development Center. And they can, depending on where they're located, there's a button at the top of the website that says locations, and pick a center that's closest to them. Also, at that same website, there's trainings and a host. Every center puts on trainings, just as we're putting these trainings on. There are other centers that will have, other trainings. And what we do is each training that we do, we'll send out a survey to see how we did, also to see what kind of trainings that our clients are looking for, so that we can, as a network, can put on the trainings that small businesses are needing and wanting.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for the service that you're providing for small businesses, because they really do need extra help in getting started. They really do need additional services that large companies, obviously they have all the capital that they can get their hands on. Small businesses just don't. So when there are services like this in a community for small businesses, I think it's just fantastic. And it's the type of things that I think more small business owners should leverage. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story today. And thank you all for taking the time to join us on Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. Main Street Matters is part of the Salem Podcast Network. New episodes debut every Wednesday and Friday. You can subscribe to the show at salempodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcast from. And we'll be back soon with another episode. Bye for now.